Hi. In this episode, we want to talk a little bit about the top 10 things each of us have learned over the last 13 months of living on our sailboat. Before I retired, what are you doing?
Microphone was like right.
So, one of the first things that I listed on my top 10 things I've learned is I couldn't believe how priceless Facebook groups were. They have helped us every step of the way, anywhere from Starlink groups to Nautic groups to different islands in the Bahamas have all their own groups, and it helps us connect to other cruisers, and it helps us figure out like where to anchor and where to go out to eat and where the grocery stores are. And anytime we post a question on any specific group, there's always somebody really super helpful that just came from there or has been anchored there for many, many days that jumps in and tells us what we need to know to be there safely and to get all the provisions that we need. So, my number one thing, Facebook groups rock.
So, my number one thing that I've learned is that I have a lot less time than I thought I was going to have. Pre-retirement, working 10, 11 hours a day, commuting an hour, hour and a half a day, keeping up with house chores, cutting the grass, going grocery shopping, doing all those sorts of things. I was really bummed about the amount of personal time that I had to work on my hobbies and to do the things that weren't work related. And now that I've been living on the boat now for 13 months, I'm really surprised that that hasn't changed too much. I mean, yeah, I have a lot more free time. You know, we have a lot more playtime. We go in the town quite a bit. You know, we're always on the water. We're sailing. But it's not like a 10-to-1 change.
Things I learned number two. I was actually super surprised about how hard it is to live full time in a new country and a new culture. And it's nothing I could really describe. All I can say is that you stumble upon um, personalities and cultures, and you realize you just stepped on someone in a way. And then all of a sudden, you come back to America and you feel like this huge relief and like you feel at home there. So it's really interesting how even a country that speaks English predominantly uh, still has things that we need to learn and pick up along the way.
Number two of the things that I have learned while living on a boat is that moving around all the time while on a boat makes it exceedingly difficult to establish routine and behaviors to, for example, exercise on a regular basis. Now, I do admit that living on a boat does seem to be a lot more active than, say, working 11 hours behind a desk and that sort of thing. Anybody who's done any sort of work on a boat knows that it actually can be quite challenging, contorting your body into small spaces, lifting things up, putting sails away, that sort of thing. But all that said, it had been really difficult to establish any sort of exercise routine.
Number three, staying in touch with family and friends is super hard work when you're living on the go, and it takes both sides to keep that connection and that commitment to that relationship.
Living and cruising on a sailboat is like being on vacation 24/7. And yeah, that sounds totally awesome. And that was kind of one of the goals for doing this to begin with. But I guess what I didn't realize is being on vacation 24/7 makes it really difficult to have discipline and do things in moderation and to take care of yourself. And yeah, it's tougher than I thought it was going to be.
My number 4 thing about the things I've learned on a sailboat is not having a regular fixed schedule, whether it be a weekday schedule or a weekend schedule, is super hard. It's hard for me, for example, to get an exercise routine in place, not knowing like that, every day could something happens and you have to get up and move your anchor, or you aren't allowed on land because there's a storm coming through and you can't get off your sailboat, or you've got a 4-day passage, and you're on the clock 24/7 sailing through to a different place. So not having a schedule, a routine, is super hard for me.
Number 4, before we became a cruiser, I had pictures in my mind and dreams in my mind about being in secluded anchorages, being the only sailboat around, and having the peace and the tranquility that's associated with that. And I do love that. And in fact, we came down to Long Island from Georgetown a few days ago to kind of get away from the 180 to 250 boats that's in Georgetown and the cruising community there. That said, I also do find that after a few days, a handful of days, perhaps more, of being off on our own and around much fewer people than we normally would be, I find that I really kind of miss people. And so we're going to head back to Georgetown. Yes, we're going to do that because of weather, but we're also going to go back and kind of join in with the cruising community there that's been so awesome, and play some Texas Hold'em and play some volleyball and go to a few outings and have a blast.
The 5th thing I learned living on a sailboat for approximately 13 months is that I can learn and be good at brand new things. Living the life of a sailor, you do things that you naturally have never had to do before in your whole life. And it's kind of intimidating. And I'm pretty happy with the progress that I've made learning new things.
Number 5. So this is season 2, and we had taken a break because of hurricane season between season 1 and season 2, and spent about 2 to 3 months on land. And I can tell you that I was looking forward a little bit to getting back on land for that short period of time. But I can also tell you that after a couple months of being on land and dealing with traffic and dealing with the variety of things of being on land, I really started to miss this lifestyle.
Number 6. It's really super easier than I ever expected, to be with your best friend 24/7. Mike and I are connected by the hip. We do everything together. And even when we're doing separate things, we're doing it at a very close proximity because the sailboat is not huge. So it's been a lot easier than I ever expected. And actually, it's been super, super fun to be able to share all these different places and experiences with my best friend.
Number 6 of the top 10 things that I've learned while cruising on Wild One for about a year is that I am addicted to seeing new places. I stay someplace for a couple, 3 days, and I start to get the itch, and I want to move and go check out something new.
Number 7, sailing offshore with no sight of land anywhere around you is actually not scary at all, and it's actually quite peaceful and beautiful. And I actually look forward to long passages now.
Number 7, patience is everything on a sailboat. And I guess I realized that in the past, but living on a sailboat in close quarters with Shireen and other visitors, that it's really, really important to be calm and patient when you talk to people. Boating and cruising can be stressful at times, dealing with tight anchorages, dealing with adverse weather conditions, dealing with things that brake and that sort of thing. And it's really just super important. And I'm not saying that I'm the best at it. And in fact, I know that I'm not. But it is something that I try to improve upon all the time.
Number 8. What I've also learned is understanding weather conditions and weather systems is super hard and very addictive. You're obsessed with like, what's coming? You know, how did it travel? How fast did it move? And it becomes like your new hobby.
Living on a sailboat and cruising is not all sunny beaches and sunny days. There are, from time to time, some difficult situations, and relationships ebb and flow, morale ebbs and flows, people go through different things at different times, weather impacts things. The boat is something on the boat is always broken. There's challenging conditions all the time, and I think it's really important to embrace those challenges because, really after all, that was one of the original intents of taking on this lifestyle, is because I was somewhat bored, and I get somewhat bored with the mundane and the day-to-day rituals over and over and over again. And it's important to remember that you need to embrace the challenges, because that's one of the reasons why you're here.
Number 9. This might be something that you realize, but I did not realize at the time, that fish don't swim everywhere in the ocean. They actually just kind of hang out around reefs. And so when we started going snorkeling, I realized that we have to hyper focus on where the reefs are. And it's not like you can just jump off your sailboat and see fish.
Number 9, and this is probably perhaps one of the most personal items that I've learned while cruising on Wild One, is that I was really expecting that this lifestyle would bring me peace and tranquility and eliminate all the anxiety that I had felt while working and living on terra firma. And the reality is it didn't really do that. And I guess I came to realize that the anxiety that I feel from time to time is part of who I am, and it's not necessarily all caused by outside factors. And it is something that I have to learn how to deal with the anxiety that I feel, and try to develop tools to identify that anxiety and to manage that anxiety.
Number 10 out of my top 10 list of the things that I learned living on a sailboat is that you get addicted to all the beautiful beauty of nature that's all around you. And in order not to take it for granted, what I do is I practice mindfulness. And how I do that is I have a gratitude list that I create every morning, and I make sure that part of my gratitude is to look out and be peaceful and be still and really just enjoy the beauty around me every single day. It's really hard. I know that sounds silly, of being on vacation every single day and really just appreciating it. So I practice mindfulness.
Number 10. I try to do all my work on Wild One that I can for a number of different reasons. First and foremost, I like working with my hands. Secondly, I'm always trying to learn new things. And thirdly, it's just less expensive to do the work yourself than to hire it out. However, there have been instances in the past where I had lacked the initial knowledge and expertise to do the work myself. And so I had hired out a number of times to have some work done on our engines, servicing our engines, and there were a couple of mistakes made by the mechanic And I don't want to go into the details, but suffice it to say that it's really, really important to double check your mechanic's work. Don't assume that just because you happen to pay a couple $1,000s to a marine mechanic to service your engines that the work was done without mistakes. Double check your work. And I also want to say that I'm not infallible either, and I have also found that I have made mistakes in doing the work myself. And so I think it's also really important to double check your own work as well.
Thanks again for watching this latest video. We are so happy and excited to share our adventures with you.
And we are exceedingly grateful for the privilege of your time. So if you like what you see, please go ahead and subscribe below, and hopefully we can see you on the water later.
Surprised. If you would subscribe. That might be good.
Yeah.
You can see the water.
Mm-hmm. Water's gorgeous. As two are you.
Aw.
Alrighty. You gotta hold it straight up and down, dude, if you can. Hi. In this episode, we want to talk a little bit about straight up and down.
No. Try this. How about this?
The horizon's not flat.
The horizon's not flat.
So, my number
Your video is crooked.
Nope.
Yes, it is.
Thanks again, and please subscribe.
Living on Wild One for now. It's crooked again. 13 months. Mine's probably crooked too. All right. Is you have way less time than you think you are. What? Why are you shaking?
Don't go sharps. You look angry.
Shereen, you are driving me crazy.
I'm gonna be in my pants. It looks so good to me.
Yeah, let's take 12. Just over a year now.
The horizon's like this. I can't stop seeing it. I'm not sure. Is it because you're leaning?
Oh my God.
Let's prop that pillow nice. Yeah, I like that. I like it like that.